Good morning and good afternoon. Today we have a match between two teams who are starting the competition. My name is Aurélien Lorange and together with Miss Urbanova we are organizing the Inter-University Law Debate Tournament 2026, a 9th edition, and I give the floor to my colleague for hosting the match.
Thank you very much, and good day everyone. Good day to the debaters of the University of Texas at Austin and the debaters of the Kathmandu University. So you are both in quite a different time zone, so it's a pleasure to be able to connect you today for the debate. The topic you have received 7 days in advance is whether or not administrative law frameworks should evolve to support cross-border regulatory cooperation. Of course, you have prepared for both sides. We'll shortly find out which team will defend which side of the argument. But before we get to that part, I would like to pass the floor to the students for the introduction. Starting with the Kathmandu University debaters, Ms. Mainali.
Greetings, everyone. I am Soumidhi Manali, and I'm extremely happy to be debating with you all today.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Kritika Casey, and I'm really proud to be representing my university today in this platform.
Hello, everyone. I'm Surangana Takal, and I'm also very grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Now passing the floor to debaters of University of Texas at Austin.
Hi, my name is Gordy O'Rourke, and I'm really excited to be debating today.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Lindsay Jade Feinstein, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today.
Hi, my name is Ruta Rajpatak, and I'm really excited to be able to participate in this format today.
Welcome, everyone. In a short while, you should be able to see the randomizer for the positions. Whenever it's visible to you, please just give me audio confirmation.
Yes.
Thank you.
We can.
Right, so there are two possibilities for each team, for and against. All right, so for today's debate, it will be the University of Texas Austin that will be defending the against position, and thus the Kathmandu University debaters will be opening the match in favor of the statement that administrative law frameworks should evolve to support cross-border regulatory cooperations. Your teams now have 5 minutes to finalize your preparations. Feel free to close your cameras. Thank you, everyone. The time for final preparation has now passed. We'll proceed by hearing the opening statements of the Kathmandu debate team. You will have 4 minutes whenever you're ready.
May I start?
Yes.
Respected judges, members of the opposition, and everyone present, good evening. I am Samridhi Manali, speaking for the motion Administrative Law Frameworks should evolve to support cross-border regulatory cooperation. I will be providing the context, defining the motion, and outlining our arguments. At the outset, let me be very clear. This debate is not about erasing borders, abolishing the sovereignty, or forcing countries into identical legal systems. This debate is about whether the machinery of governance must evolve in a world where problems themselves are evolving beyond borders. In terms of the status quo, we live in an era of deep globalization. Climate change, pandemics, migration, cybercrime, terrorism, and digital markets operate transnationally with impacts that no single state can manage in isolation. Due to this growing interdependence, there has been a shift of regulatory authority from purely national governments to regional and global regulatory regimes, as identified by Professors Kingsbury, Krish, and Stewart in their work on global administrative law. While the opposition may state sovereignty and democracy as reasons to resist this evolution, we contend that the traditional notion of absolute sovereignty is already transforming. As noted by Professor Dr. Ilyas Bantikas, modern states increasingly and voluntarily confer extensive powers on international and supranational institutions, most notably the European Union. These new legal realities, however, cannot be adequately understood or regulated through traditional domestic administrative law frameworks alone. As early as Carlston in 1959 stated, scholars recognized that conventional legal lenses were insufficient to address emerging forms of international administrative action. Yet, despite this reality, administrative law remains overwhelmingly domestic. This is precisely why we affirm today that administrative law frameworks should evolve to support cross border regulatory cooperation. Now, expanding further on the motion, what actually administrative law is and why it must evolve. As defined by Professor Timothy Endicott in his book Administrative Law is the body of public law that structures, empowers, and controls the exercise of executive authority, ensuring that governmental power across all areas of administration is exercised lawfully, responsibly, and accountably. Traditionally, administrative law followed the red light theory, as propounded by Dicey and Hayek, which prioritizes control of government authority. And the opposing view to this theory is the green light theory, as articulated by Harlow and Rawlings, which argues that administrative law should be used as a way of facilitating the operation of the state rather than controlling it. This motion calls for a calibrated green light approach in cross border contexts where administrative law frameworks must expand to accommodate cooperation, coordination, and interoperability across jurisdictions, as explained by Professor Perkman in 2021. Without procedural evolution, cross border cooperation remains ad hoc, opaque, and legally fragile. So, we contend that refusing to evolve administrative law does not protect sovereignty, it weakens it, because sovereignty without the capacity to govern transnational realities is merely symbolic. To substantiate this position, the proposition advances two core arguments. The first one is an evolved administrative law frameworks aids in addressing shared concerns across national borders. And the second one, procedural evolution improves cross-border cooperation, coordination, accountability in areas like permitting or licensing, while leaving substantive laws under national control to perceive sovereignty and democratic legitimacy. These issues will be dealt by my teammate. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear the opening statement for the against position by University of Texas at Austin. You have 4 minutes.
And everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, judges and opponents from Kathmandu University, for joining us today for this exciting debate. We are proud to negate the topic for today that administrative law framework should evolve to support cross-border regulatory cooperation. We agree with the opposing team's definitions, but argue they are interpreting administrative law frameworks in an idealistic world that does not take into account the real-world policies. We will discuss three main points in negation of the topic. One, cooperative harmonization disproportionately benefits states with greater sovereign capacity. Two, meaningful differences in international governments makes uniformity unrealistic. Three, mandating cooperative structures risk creating institutional conflict between international bodies. First, legal enforcement skews in favor of the stronger sovereign power. American Public University expands. Enforcement is heavily dominated by stronger foreign powers. International legal compliance is dependent on the individual actor's willingness to maintain international order over legal obligations. States with greater sovereign capacity often have less political motivation to comply with legal frameworks. For example, the Berkeley Journal of International Law furthers that the US has continued to resist compliance, antagonizing the ICC and other international bodies through their refusal to vote, financial withdrawal, and threat of sanctions. Furthermore, cooperative regulatory frameworks have often exploited by more powerful countries in order to further their own interests while maintaining the guise of collaborative efforts. For example, the United States, a powerful member of the International Monetary Fund, used their position to exploit smaller countries such as Jamaica and Ghana. Loans offered by the United States and the IMF had byline conditions requiring austerity measures, privatization, and liberalization that served to benefit foreign investors. Northwestern University describes these policies as a form of international legal coercion. Second, cross-border cooperation may solve coordination problems, but it risks replacing accountable domestic regulation with distant technocratic governance. Just as you would not buy the same size clothing for every person in the world, you ought not subject every nation to one-size-fits-all administrative framework. Differing governmental structures make implementation difficult. As the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development furthers, countries with weaker administrative reach lack the flexibility or the reach to apply other legal frameworks, as much of the administrative law only applies to state-sanctioned activities, rendering it useless in instances where governments lack the effective human rights enforcement. Without tailoring policies to each country, nations are forced into a non-representative form of compliance. The dangers of one-size-fits-all solutions are exemplified in a 2022 meta-analysis of treaties, which found little evidence of treaties achieving their intended purpose of collaborative efforts, and in some cases exacerbating the very issues they aim to resolve. Third, cooperative frameworks between countries ignore heightened tensions and have empirically contributed to international conflict and jurisdictional oversteps. The annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 violated commitments embedded in the Budapest Memorandum on Security Assurances and triggered responses through cooperative institutions such as the UN and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, yet armed conflict followed regardless. China has successfully staked claim to international waters and islands in the South China Sea, despite the Hague Tribunal ruling in 2016 that the nation's claim lacked international legal foundation and violated the rights of the Philippines and international governments agreements that both countries agreed to in the principle of territorial integrity in the Charter of the United Nations. While administrative frameworks may seem useful from afar, when you analyze empirical instances of cooperative frameworks in practice, they ultimately serve as a facade for countries to signal commitment while evading substantive obligations. For these reasons, we reiterate the negative that administrative law frameworks should not evolve.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to hear the rebuttals, starting with the in favor position. Kathmandu University, you have 2 minutes.
Am I audible?
You are.
Okay, so let me start my speech by honorable judges. The examples provided by the opposition falls under the realm of public international law, not the administrative law that is relevant to the motion that we have today. So, honorable judges, I would now like to present before you the first argument to show how an evolved administrative law framework helps address shared concerns across national borders. Administrative law addresses concurrent situations by clarifying authority, enabling coordination across agencies or borders, and embedding obligations into enforceable regulatory frameworks. Public administration in a cross-border context refers to the collaborative functioning of government institutions across national boundaries to address shared concerns, as per Professor Peckerman in his article. Administrative law plays a critical role in reducing legal and administrative friction between territories and enabling coordinated responses to issues that cross national borders. Disasters like pandemics or floods don't care about borders. They impact people's lives, homes, and communities everywhere. So we need governments to work together to respond. According to the WHO Pandemic Agreement, countries can prevent, prepare for, and respond to pandemics through frameworks built on equity, solidarity, and respect for national sovereignty. Similarly, the France-Switzerland START demonstrates how administrative frameworks can evolve to overcome regulatory differences, enabling cross-border projects in transport, culture, and heritage. Administrative law also transforms international commitments into enforceable domestic obligations. For example, the Human Rights Act 1998 incorporated the European Convention on Human Rights into UK law, requiring administrative authorities to act compatibly with convention rights and allowing courts to invalidate non-complaint actions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll now hear the rebuttal in the against position. University of Texas at Austin, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you to our opponents for providing their perspective. However, we must disagree with their characterization that our arguments do not fall under the purview of administrative law. While our opponents have argued that the current environment necessitates adaptation of international law, existing changes in sovereignty are not reasons to risk eroding it altogether. History has proven that rather than addressing shared global concerns, administrative frameworks have served as a facade for international legal coercion. While appealing in theory, in practice, administrative law lacks the capacity to enforce cooperation over issues such as pandemics, terrorism, or trade. The affirmation brings up the WHO Pandemic Agreement, but after 2 years of debate, the Human Rights Commission furthers that this took 2 years of debate and was not quick enough to react to pressing global issues that caused immediate concerns, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Further, history has proven that rather than addressing shared global concerns, administrative frameworks have served as a facade for global legal coercion. For example, Russia's annexation of Crimea violated several core tenets of international law, including the UN Charter's prohibition on use of force, the Geneva Convention, and several treaties and agreements between Russia and neighboring nations. Not only was this still allowed to occur under administrative law frameworks, but ongoing tensions in the region and tensions between alliances and treaties led to the Ukraine-Russia war. China also violated the rights of the Philippines by claiming South China Sea territory, despite the Hague Tribunal ruling that they had no international legal basis to do so, and this has led to increased militarization in the region. Either international organizations end up caving to unfair demands of large states, or those states withdraw from legal frameworks and are not held accountable. This is also proven by Donald Trump, for example, withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, the IPCC and UN Human Rights Council, and authorizing sanctions against the International Criminal Court in instances where he disagreed with them. In conclusion, we must disagree with the affirmation stance that international law frameworks are the best way to resolve these global issues, and instead look to domestic, more accountable forms of regulation.
Thank you. We'll now hear the second rebuttal by the Kathmandu University. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, dear opponents, for sharing your views on it. But I'd like to point out that the opposition presents the motion in a way that suggests administrative law framework operate in a global manner, but we are contending for regional or interstate cooperation here. So, honorable judges, we will now discuss the second argument, which is evolving administrative procedures, enabling effective cross-border collaboration while preserving the national laws. Even if countries have very different laws, improving procedures makes cooperation across across borders much smoother. Streamlined processes in areas like permits or licensing help governments work together effectively, while each country still keeps control over its own core laws, protecting sovereignty and democracy. The supranational and international institutions define and refine standards in an increasing variety of areas. For this purpose, they often seek to define optimal rules for national authorities, whatever the nature and level of development of the states. For example, the WTO rules on public procurements fall in this category of standards. The EU's mutual recognition principle illustrates how evolving procedural administrative laws can support cross-border regulation. By establishing inspection, certification, and dispute resolution mechanisms, it allows goods legally sold in one country to circulate freely in others, showing that procedural frameworks, not changes to substantive laws, can enable cooperation while respecting each country's national rules. Likewise, the EU's Services Directive illustrates procedural evolution in action. It removes barriers to trade in services by simplifying administrative procedures for providers, enhancing rights for consumers and businesses, and fostering cooperation among EU countries, all without altering the substantive national laws of these countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll now hear the second rebuttal by the University of Texas at Austin. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable judges, we thank our opponents for their perspective. However, when it comes to international law, one size does not fit all. Regional and interstate cooperation will always be skewed. Cross-border cooperations are not made easier, but rather more difficult by uniform standards. For example, the Uruguay pulp mill dispute with Argentina and Uruguay arose under the cooperative regulatory framework of the Statute of the River Uruguay and was adjudicated by the International Court of Justice. Yet it still produced cross-border protests and blockades that disrupted physical movement and commerce. The affirmative treats administrative cooperative frameworks as solely idealistic, but does not take into account the context of power structures or global hegemonic goals by stronger countries in which these administrative law frameworks operate. This proves that any affirmative examples, such as removing barriers to trade, will always be done in ways that either benefit the nation in power or when trying to apply a standardized framework to a specific and more localized situation, it will always result in protests or over-application of a one-size-fits-all methodology that is not tailored to the region or the needs of the people who live there. With the increase of power asymmetry, administrative law cannot transform unless we solve for the global inequality that uplifts countries that do not hold global dominance. The affirmation continues to shift power towards unequal global hierarchies. So until we can create equal capacity for enforcement, disenfranchised states will continue to bear the brunt of the harm. This means that addressing issues such as power asymmetry and inequality will be needed in order to resolve the global issues that the affirmative contends that we must. While global issues may not care about borders, the solution to those issues is not to go ahead and apply a one-size-fits-all solution that ignores the dynamics between regions and states, because we need more accountable forms of domestic governance that can be tailored to the needs of the people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to hear the concluding statements, starting with the Kathmandu University debating team. You have 2 minutes.
Respected judges, this debate asks a simple but urgent question. Can administrative law remain confined within borders when governance itself no longer is? We live in a world where pandemics, climate change, digital data, migration, and cyber threats operate across borders. States already cooperate to respond to these shared challenges. The real issue is whether that cooperation is structured, transparent, and accountable. Administrative law exists to structure, empower, and control executive authority. If executive power increasingly operates in cross-border spaces, administrative law must evolve to govern it. Presenting the clash points of today's debate. Firstly, the opposition side contended that we are being too idealistic, that we are looking at an idealistic version of administrative law. But we are suggesting that this cross-border cooperation in a regional or bilateral manner, rather than a global or an over-ambitious way. And secondly, they contended that a one shoe fits all is not the way to go and uniformity is unrealistic. But we are contending for interoperability. We are not contending for a same legal structure everywhere. We are merely contending for interoperability. So, first, evolved administrative frameworks help states address shared concerns effectively. And secondly, evolution does not mean surrendering sovereignty. It means improving procedures, coordination, licensing, information sharing, while substantive national laws remain intact. Sovereignty is preserved, but governance becomes more effective. Refusing to evolve does not protect sovereignty, it weakens it. Sovereignty without capacity to govern transnational realities is merely symbolic. So, here we are looking at an administrative framework that evolves to include a framework that allows interstate or regional level of cooperation between countries with similar cultural backgrounds or similar legal values, but without compromising it in a way that we stand for inoperability. As such, the word is evolving, and if we don't, we will be left behind. So we are arguing for the motion today. Thank you.
Thank you. Now to hear the concluding statements of the University of Texas at Austin, you have 2 minutes.
Can everyone see and hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you to the judges and to our opponents for their case. First, I want to acknowledge that the affirmation and the negation both agree that the global situation does need to change. Yet our team has demonstrated that the status quo is unable to effectively accommodate this. This debate isn't a question of whether we should have any global cooperation, but rather the form that it must take. Administrative law frameworks are not the manner in which to enforce this. The affirmative team, in fact, agrees that states already cooperate across borders. They claim interoperability, not global, but this does not align with their own example, which talked about using administrative law to create a uniform global framework for bilateral agreements. They also have not rebutted our specific examples like Russia, China, and Uruguay, who have proven that even limited bilateral agreements can continue to exacerbate harm and further heighten international tensions. Further, the affirmation claims that we are framing their argumentation as idealistic, but when we bring up specific data points about the WHO pandemic agreement, over 194 countries spent over 2 years debating this agreement without coming to any form of conclusion. While they point out a myriad of they point out bilateral and regional cooperation, we've given a myriad of examples that all point out that stronger countries will always leverage their power even in bilateral agreements. Just because this idealistic framework of being able to enforce these agreements will work doesn't mean that in execution it will be able to make any effective changes to the status quo. In closing, while the affirmative presents evolution as inevitable and necessary, this doesn't justify the institutional expansion without any form of accountability. In reality, it's clear that these international administrative frameworks are only as strong as the political will behind them. When this power is unequal, enforcement will continue to be unequal and disenfranchise states that don't have the power to stand up to global hegemons. When we're bypassing this domestic legitimacy, compliance is going to continue to weaken. And for these reasons, we stand firm in the nation. Because evolving without equality doesn't strengthen governance, it destabilizes it.
Thank you. Thank you for your conclusions. And well done to both teams. You can all now relax. You're no longer graded after this point. First of all, congratulations on completing your first debate match in the day one of the University Law Debate Tournament 2026. As always, judges will have 2 working days to review the debate, to submit the scores. On behalf of the organizing team, we already thank them, and we appreciate the time they're going to be putting towards this. Already, you can also exchange some of the feedback for the debates amongst yourselves. So to express or to reflect on how the research was, how did you find the topic and the debate match itself? Perhaps starting with the University of Texas at Austin. Mr. O'Rourke, how did you find the debate and the topic?
I thought this debate and the topic was really engaging. I enjoyed researching both sides of it, and a lot of the arguments that we had prepared for the affirmative were brought up by the opposition. So I think that that's really interesting that even amongst 2 different teams who prepared separately, we were able to find some sort of consensus on things like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you for sharing. Ms. Dakal of Kathmandu University, how did you find the debate, the topic? Did you also hear familiar arguments?
Well, the motion. Sorry for that. So the motion itself was interesting. Administrative law generally is, and I agree with Mr. O'Rourke that like when we got the motion, we thought that what if we are debating two different things, because sometimes when we are debating, we usually also go at it through a global south point of view, so we avoided that because like we didn't know if there would be a point of clash here, that we would be having a debate, or rather it would go on as a speech competition, so we were worried about that. And thank God that did not happen, and this was a very engaging debate and I enjoyed this round. Thank you to the opponents and thank you to my teammates as well. So yeah, I enjoyed this round very much.
Thank you for sharing. Ms. Rashpadak of the University of Texas at Austin, how did you find the debate, the topic?
I was really struck by how similar the opposing team and our when we were reading through our affirmation arguments, we hit on a lot of the same points. We talked a lot about pandemics and a lot of issues that are kind of touching our reality. And I thought it was so cool that we're all facing the same global issues, which I think is kind of the point of the debate. So that was a fun experience.
Thank you for sharing. Ms. Mainali of Kathmandu University, how did you find the debate today? And perhaps have you already touched upon the topic in your studies?
Hello everyone. So I was also the topic was also really interesting to research upon, and it was really fun to go through all the administrative law frameworks and how it affects the cross-border regulatory cooperation. And we were not really touching the topic in our subject matter as well. So it was really interesting to go through all the like subject matters while researching the topic as well. And I think we did well on our part, and I'd like to thank my teammates and all the opposition team as well. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Ms. Feinstein of University of Texas at Austin, how did you find the debate today? And are you familiar with the topic from your studies already?
Yes, thank you. I have to agree with our opponents and my teammates. I found the topic to be really engaging. I haven't encountered a lot of administrative law directly in my studies, so I thought that this was a great opportunity for me to kind of expand my knowledge to an international legal topic that I otherwise wouldn't have gotten to discuss. And I think what makes it really special is having the opportunity to get to discuss this with really intelligent opponents from a different country with different perspectives. And so I've just really appreciated that.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Ms. from Kathmandu, Ms. Casey, how did you find the debate?
I felt that the debate was of a very dynamic topic, like it touched both the national and the cross-boundary issues that we're facing today. And I'm so glad that we were able to reach a consensus and our debate's topic matched in the middle, because even I thought that it would go in two different lines and the topics would diverge. But it was a really fun debate and I enjoyed it overall, and hearing perspectives from the opponents was also really refreshing, because we belong to different backgrounds, we belong to different countries, and it was really fun. So thank you so much, judges, for making this a success. Thank you so much, opponents, for sharing your perspectives, and a special thanks to my teammate for making this a success for us all. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for sharing. It's been a pleasure to be the observer, and on the behalf of the organizing team, really congratulations on your first match. Before we wrap up today's session, we have two questions for your teams. So the questions are posed to your teams as a whole. Feel free to choose which member will start. The first question is, how did you decide to, and why did you decide to represent your university in the tournament? What does it mean now that you are selected and representing it for you yourselves as law students? And perhaps are you familiar already with your teammates before being a part of a team today? Starting with University of Texas at Austin.
I really enjoyed this opportunity to be able to get to know my teammates, since we'd all kind of encountered each other in the hallways, but we never gotten the chance to actually work together. So it was really cool to see how everyone thinks so differently and all of our different backgrounds, since we all come from very different areas of speaking and debating. So we all have super different backgrounds, but we were all able to come across the same topics. It was a really cool opportunity to be able to represent our university, and finding out about this from our director was a really cool way for us to be able to speak about topics that matter to us and be able to talk about important global issues.
So to your colleagues, if you would like to add.
Is there still an echo? Okay. Yeah, I agree with Ruda. I've actually known LJ since probably for about 5 years now. We are from completely different cities, probably around 5 hours away from each other, but we've known each other since high school. But we've never actually gotten the chance to work together, especially in a debate capacity, even though we've been involved with debate in some way for many years. So that was really a great opportunity. And then I have not known Ruda for that long, but she's an incredible teammate, and I've loved working with her, and she's incredibly knowledgeable. I'm really proud to represent UT. I love this school, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, just to echo everything that my two teammates have said, I feel like this has just given us such a great opportunity to forge connections across kind of different disciplines of public speaking that we have here at the university. So when I heard about the opportunity to debate against international opponents in a format of debate that I didn't have direct experience with, I knew that this would be a great opportunity to meet new people while also pushing myself intellectually. And so far, it's been a really great experience. So thank you so much to our opponents, our judges, and the foundation for organizing all of this.
Thank you. And now the same question to the Kathmandu University team. How did you come to represent the university? How do you feel now? What does it mean for yourselves as law students? And did you already collaborate before becoming a part of the team now?
Actually, I and Samriddhi knew each other since like 10 years. We went to the same school and since grade 1. And yeah, it's been more than 10 years since we know each other, but we've not collaborated on an international platform like this before together. So it was a really refreshing experience. And our Surangana Didi is actually our senior, and it was really helpful. It was a really like life-changing experience because this is our first experience in a global platform like this, and we have been taking part in debates before, but it was only on like a national level or like the school level, but we haven't represented our university in an international platform. It was a really refreshing experience, and thank you so much for our senior for guiding us through this. We've known each other for like a year now, and and it was really helpful to gain her guidance. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like my teammate mentioned, we know each other since a long time, but we haven't have known our senior Suranga Didi since a long time, and it was really fun to know her insights on this topic as well. And learning from her had been a great experience, and we learned a lot of things because this topic was really new to us since we haven't had an opportunity to debate like this in a global platform. And researching on this, going on depth, learning citations and all about authors and all, it was really fun and insightful experience. And we thank you all for organizing this experience for us as well. Thank you.
Well, as opposed, again, sorry for that. As opposed to their experience, this is my last competition before I graduate in a few months, and I also didn't know them. I didn't really know any juniors like below third year, I guess. So they are the only juniors I know from their class, and it was such a great opportunity to befriend them and to have them as my sisters. So yeah, it was a fun experience, and I also love debating, and I had done a lot of mooting, but I hadn't done debating since I got into the university. Before then I did, and here I did not. So I wanted to go out with one last debate competition, and so I decided to join the team and debate with them, and it has been great.
Right. Well, exciting times, everyone. For the final question, I'm passing the floor to Professor Lavanche to close us off on the cultural exchange.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations first for your match. I was observing. So now you are in the competition. So it means as well in 2 weeks you will have the possibility as well to debate with the two other teams in your group F. So it means Masaryk University and the University of Lagos. They will have their own match as well in 2 days from now. So yeah, the last question. Imagine that, for example, this is a question for the team in Texas. Next week, the team from Nepal will come to Texas. So could you tell us maybe something they should visit, they should try, they should eat, they should, I don't know, listen, attend, something that you are very proud of in your city as a student as well in Austin?
I would say that if you ever get the opportunity to visit Texas, it's a lot of fun. I would try, if you're coming in the fall, the state fair is a great time, and they have fried versions of every single food that you can imagine. So I would definitely recommend trying that. If you are into like history or art, there are so many art museums throughout the state. There's a lot of Texas history, obviously. So there's some great museums that we're lucky to have walking distance from campus here in Austin that I've loved. So that's what I would recommend. But my teammates probably have more.
I definitely agree with LJ. If you were to come next week, don't bring anything for cold weather. It's basically feels like summer here already. And I think if you had to try food, barbecue. I think people everywhere else in the United States will probably have a different opinion on the best barbecue, but it's definitely Texas barbecue is the best. And then in Austin specifically, we have a lot of outdoorsy activities. So we have a natural spring pool that's really fun, and there's a lot of different things to do outdoors.
Yes, thank you very much. And on the side of Nepal, first time, for example, that the team from Texas would come to Kathmandu or to Nepal in general. What they should see, they would eat, they would try. So what would you recommend?
Oh, well, if the team were to come next week is Holi in Nepal, which is like a festival of colors, so you would enjoy that. And if you were ever to come to Nepal, I think the best experience would be just backpacking and go and climb any mountain. Any mountain, you can climb any mountain. So yeah, that is the best thing about Nepal. And food, I think anywhere you eat in Nepal, it is like a good variety of choices of food, like Nepali local food, or also even like Indian, Chinese, everything. You get really good food here. And I mean, we would love to come to US, but visa restrictions, So yeah, so that's the issue. But yeah, you could like come backpacking to Nepal. That is the only thing I'd say. Thank you.
Do your colleagues want to add something as well?
Unmute. Definitely visit Pokhara. I think that's the most mainstream tourist destination that you can visit in Nepal, and it has all these fun outdoor activities that you can try there. And you can also go for mountain climbing, as Surangana Didi already mentioned, because that's the most generic thing that you can do as a tourist in Nepal, but it's really fun. So
And if you want to explore more about cultures, then you could go to the famous temples that you can witness in Nepal, or also the Bhaktapur Darbar Square and Bauddha Stupa and everything that would provide you the diversity of cultures that is rich in Nepal as well. So thank you. You could come to visit Nepal and enjoy the diversity of cultures and enjoy the beautiful environment, and that's.
Thank you very much. So this is an encouragement to keep contact if you wish, of course. So after this match, you can try to get connected. This competition is a reason as well to network around the world with all the teams. So it means this time between Nepal and the US team, next time it will be with the Czech, with the Nigerians. So you never know in your long career as a jurist, you might need an expert as well in those jurisdictions. So yeah, try to see if you want to get connected with all the universities, and don't forget there will be a networking event at the end of the group phase with all the teams where you will be able to exchange on this group phase, but as well get contact as well at this moment with all the other teams. So many thanks. So the 3 judges will be assessing the match from now. They will be able to rewatch the match. I'm sure that they will enjoy very much everything that you have said. And in 2 weeks, that will be the moment for your next match, but 1 week before we receive another topic on another sub-theme, and we'll see each other again at that time. So many thanks again, and we keep contact, and see you soon. Thank you, bye-bye.